Hi and welcome everybody. This is Abhyuday Agarwal, CEO and co-founder at LawSeco. Today we have an exciting agenda to discuss. We are discussing how to create an effective study plan for judiciary preparation, and we are going to discuss some of the secret strategies literally that you will not easily obtain from toppers who've cracked this earlier or from coaching classes either. Okay. Now, I want to share how I have been identifying that this is an issue. So, for the last 8 years, I've been working on designing courses that enable lawyers to get jobs, internships, or to get their own clients, right? And LawSeco is 3.5 years old, and we really took our training a notch up. We made a lot of practical materials, created a lot of exercises, simulations for students, and then I started looking at test prep about 4 5 months back. It looked like a very daunting task to start with. The syllabus is so vast. It's not clearly determined. If you look at most of the syllabus for any particular state, it will say which subjects you have to go through, and the weightage will be given. But there is a sort of ambiguity, uncertainty, a vastness to this, and that looked scary, right? So I looked at it from the mindset of a trainer, and when I did that, I thought that, okay, how as a student, from the mindset of a trainer and a student, I try to look at this, that how should I compartmentalize my preparation? How should I make all the work a little plannable? Okay, because the reason I saw people losing focus was that they don't have a clear plan that how will they actually effectively complete it. And when I started to get into it, for me, it was like, how do I look at this work? I mean, how do I look at starting to study? Where do I start? How do I continue? Okay. And I asked a lot of students, I looked around at various coaching classes. I spoke to people who've topped themselves and who have assisted others, trained others, those who have trained 50, hundreds of judges to hundreds of candidates to crack the judiciary exam in multiple states. And I realized that there is an incredible opportunity for students to be able to visualize, to be able to plan their own preparation, and that kind of work hasn't been done in this area. And I felt that a lot of these insights must be shared and made available to candidates who are studying for judiciary exams. And I was able to see that, fortunately, because I've been looking at working on the training aspect, and I got an opportunity to take a fresh look at what judiciary test prep is like. So I have been designing before that courses at LawSeco on different areas, from corporate law, technology, real estate, labor laws, corporate, then litigation related courses, some conceptualization, all of that I've been doing. So I had a fresh mind at it. And I realized that there is an opportunity to really look at your study preparation from an entirely new level. Okay, so I have made some notes which I really want to share with you so that you can benefit from it today. Okay, and some of you may have attended the session I took yesterday. If you have, you can say, yes, I attended it. Okay, and I asked a lot of you that what you're doing currently before I began. So some of you are attempting the judiciary exam this year. Others have been. There are some first year students, and it's really good that you are here. Okay, I'm very happy that you're thinking of starting to look for content from the earliest possible time in law school. Okay, so here are a few tips and few important mindsets to look at. So we usually think of this, that let me start preparation in my final year, and until then, so people either start their full preparation in their final year, okay, like from scratch, or they take a formal structured program in their final year. And I'm not talking about which coaching to take, but I'm talking about this, that they decide to fully accelerate and move to fifth gear in their fifth year. Okay, if you're driving a car, they go to the fifth gear in their fifth year, and first, second, third, fourth year, what are they doing? Uh, they are following the college syllabus. Now, I have no idea where this came from. Possibly, the only explanation seems to be that you've not studied some of the subjects in law school. So, you might study them, you will study them later. So, no point studying them now. Or it could be that, coaching classes charge, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs for every year of study. So, if you start studying from first or second year, you're going to run up a very big bill. Okay, now, as far as the first question is concerned, you might study only 2 or 3 subjects. You may study 5 subjects in a semester, and your judiciary syllabus will have loads of more subjects which you will study in 5th year, 4th year, 3rd year. But the real question is this: how many of us always really pay attention in class? To what extent do we rely only on class teaching? And from what I know of our law school preparation is that your study most of the times accelerates towards your exam. 1-2 weeks before the exam, you try to do it all. So you're really using self-study method even there and grasping subjects that you have not covered, that you've not probably listened to in class, or sometimes they were not taught by the teachers. Okay, but the only thing you have is you have a fixed set of notes and reference to cases. So when you're looking at a book, you know what to study and what not to study. But apart from that, you're really dealing with a new subject in any case, right? So here, my first input is that intellectually, you are capable of learning new subjects, irrespective of whether they're being taught in college or not. In any case, so that is step one. Okay, and in any case, you are going to, for cracking your exams, also rely a lot on your own self-study with the benefit of notes. The second thing is that the preparation for college exams and the preparation for your college exams is going to be in a different direction. Is not comparable in any way to a competitive exam prep, because you can look at it like, look at any subject you study in college. You will be looking at 25-30% of the statutory provisions. You will be looking at a select portion of case laws, and then look at the syllabus, look at the past year's papers of any judiciary exam. You will see that, questions which were not discussed in college lectures are being asked. Okay, so the thing is that because law is a vast subject in any area of law, whether it's Transfer of Property Act, Specific Relief Act, Limitations, Civil Procedure Code, look at any subject. Okay, your direction for studies for your college exam is going to be very different from competitive exam prep. What is the difference? Competitive exam prep is going to be more exhaustive, more comprehensive. It will require a lot more time. Okay, so that you are automatically going to go out of sync very quickly. Okay, if you start focusing on competitive exam prep, and you can really catch speed at this point in time. Now, those who start late, therefore, what they really have to deal with is this: imagine chasing a 500 run target, okay, in T20 cricket. So if you want to really effectively prepare for judiciary, minimum number of hours required to complete syllabus for one state judiciary exam is 3,000 hours. You compare this to other exams that people give. For example, if you want to work as a CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst, this gives you a good job at investment banks, mutual funds, all of them, good corporate job, which is an equivalent in, let's say, in the financial space. Okay, it's a very difficult exam. People who crack it get great jobs. The number of prescribed study hours, they say 250 to 300, one level, and they have 3 levels, but one level requires 250 to 300 hours, and that's sufficient to crack the exam for most people. Those who don't give that time don't crack it. Judiciary is 12 times more just to cover the syllabus for one state. That is 3,000 hours. We've done a subject wise breakdown, and we realized that 3,000 hours is humongous. If you now, every year seats are not released in every state. In some states there's a gap year, so and then in some states there are too few seats, too much competition. So what do candidates do for minimizing the risk? They study for multiple exams, right? They will study for multiple states exams. Now that means that again we have to do what? We have to customize our study preparation. When you start to customize, uh, when you start to customize your preparation, expect to add 50% more time. So that 3,000 hour figure straight away goes to 4,500 hours. Okay, why? Because every state has certain nuances, even for the same subject. In some states, the subjects are different. Some of the subjects are different. Some states have a component for local laws. And in other states, what happens is that even if Civil Procedure Code, Criminal Procedure Code, Indian Evidence Act, IPC are being covered, they're covered in a different way. You can review, for example, a Himachal Pradesh prelims paper and a Delhi prelims paper. You will see that the way in which questions are asked are very different. Delhi will have more application-based questions, and there may be more direct questions in a prelims paper from Himachal Pradesh. Now, that doesn't mean one or the other is easier. Okay, because in one you are focusing on memorization, in another you are focusing on memorization plus application. Okay, and if you can apply without the memorization, you will fail to crack the one where memorization is important. So what does this mean? This means that specifically you must be able to customize your preparation. Okay, that means additional effort. So you're of course you're maximizing the chance by sitting for more exams, but you accordingly need to prepare for more state related specifics. Now, if you start to study based on your college preparation, you're not going to be able to do that, because in your law school, how do you customize for Bihar judiciary, Rajasthan judiciary, MP judiciary, Delhi judiciary, Rajasthan judiciary? Okay, so how do you study civil procedure code in 5 different ways? So you'll have to accommodate those things. Now, when this is the kind of effort required, what happens is that, if you imagine a cricket match where you have 500 runs to chase, if you've got a test match, you can do this in your own time. Okay, you can have some reasonable pace at which you can chase this. Okay, that's how it happens in cricket, right? But imagine if that target had to be chased in a T20 game. The highest scores range around 180, 200 runs. How do you chase a 500 run target? Now you break down 4,500 hours into 4 to 5 years of study prep. You will realize that at an average, you need to study 3 to 4 hours a day if you start in first year. In fifth year, if you start, this turns out to about 12 to 14 hours every day. Historically, we've never had that kind of experience to study for 14 hours, 12 hours every day. You've got the experience of studying 8 hours, 6 hours, maybe 10 hours before your college exams. That too, one can last for maybe a couple of weeks. Okay, because you take break days and all of that in the middle. Sometimes there are holidays between exams. So 6 hours, 8 hours is what we know how to study. Recall your board exam prep also. That's how much you've studied. Okay, so studying 14 hours, 12 hours around your fifth year is humongous. Now, for those of you who say, I'm starting to prepare early by keeping pace with my college studies, and in fifth year, I will take coaching. It's not a question of when you take coaching. The question is whether you are studying the way judiciary exam has to be prepared for. Okay, if you're not doing that, then you're losing the advantage by starting early also. You have an advantage by starting early, but if you're not able to appropriately customize, then you're losing it, right? Now, let's look at this. Now, the other thing is that a lot of us think that, so I'll come to study plans also, but one second. Now, the next thing is that what are the learning techniques we are applying for our study? Okay, because I've seen, when we try to learn a new subject, our study habits are what we learned in primary school or high school. Our learning habits have never improved. So what is the standard way of studying? If I ask you, you will say, I'll read the chapter, I'll try to learn it, and I'll move on to the next chapter after I complete it, right? So what happens in this process is this, okay? You can have one line, okay, saying that the limitation period for recovery suits is 3 years. Okay, then you will have an article, a section, and an article number inside the Limitation Act in the schedule for that. Now, you will need to learn this one line, the information contained in this one line, in 3 or 4 different ways. One is the application way, one is the memory way, which provision says that, and another is direct content. What is the content of the section? What is the limitation for these suits? Under which act is it prescribed? What is the section number? So what is the limitation? Is the conceptual question. section is the memorization part. The application part is I have to recover 50,000 rupees from somebody. How from somebody who owes me this money? How much time do I have? He was to repay this money to me on 1st of November 2020. Now that's the application part. Now I need to ensure that every chapter, every note, every piece of one information I read for every section in the syllabus with the important case law, I should be able to apply it in this way. And this is just for the prelims, right? After that, I will need to ensure that I can also write answers for the mains in this way. Now, what do I mean by learning techniques? So, if this is the output requirement, I need to have a learning technique which doesn't leave scope for error. When you leave it to human judgment, there is a lot of scope for approximation and errors. What is the approximation we do? When we read without testing, we say that, I have understood. Broadly, I have understood. Okay, and you can check this for yourself. Okay, you might have understood 50 to 60% of the information contained in a note or in a class or in a video, and you might feel I have understood it. Okay, but is that really enough? Because you'll be sitting in a competition with lakhs of candidates and 50 seats, 30 seats, 100 seats, okay, to compete against, and you've retained 50% of a chapter. Okay, and that's the normal retention capacity for your peers as well. So how do you have superior retention? So one aspect will be on study techniques, how to improve those. Second would be on actually testing, so that for years or months you don't use this kind of study technique. Now, if you look at the agenda of a coaching class, it would just be this, that, complete this part of the syllabus, complete this part of the syllabus, complete this part of the syllabus. So how do you measure that completion? The coaching class has taught this, but did you as a student learn it and complete it? Okay, so the tracking has to be different for every student, right? So there has to be some side of it which you can see, where you can individually see that this is being completed. With or without coaching class doesn't matter, but you need to have that control of your learning process. That, because 3,000 hours of distracted, defocused study will equate to lesser, we will not give you the results. So you need to have quality of learning, quality of retention. All of that is important, for which appropriate testing mechanism is important. And here there is one more tip I have for you, is that a lot of you think that, for prelims it's only going to be MCQs, so I should only practice MCQs. Now there's a very big problem here. Of course, in your mains you're going to have subjective answer writing, but the big problem here is that, how do you really learn? Human beings learn way better by writing than by any other way. Okay, so you might read a chapter and you might feel I remember it without even thinking of writing the answers, and that is misleading. Try to reproduce it. You will identify on your own self that what are the gaps. You will need to refer back to the study material that you have, whatever book you're reading from, and then write the answer again. So what do you need for this? You need a question at the end of the chapter, a judiciary exam focused question. So if you're reading from a Bangia or any textbook, you need to have a question that comes from, for that chapter, from a competitive exam, so that you can write as per that exam. Then you need to check that in the book, is it correct? Have I remembered everything? Then you need to add that in. And there will be some recurring errors that we make. Like, everybody is prone to omitting certain information which can be vital. These are a function of our study habits, and we are ourselves blind to it. Okay, everybody has these learning drawbacks. So what will happen then is that somebody who can guide you, or who's done this before, can tell you what to do. Okay, but in every case, every student doesn't prepare like this, and it is important for you to know that the importance of this. If you learn like this, there are two ways you benefit. One, if you are sitting for the mains, you're simultaneously preparing for that. The second thing is that your preparation for prelims is getting better, because by writing it down, you're not missing things. Okay, but you're not writing notes of everything blindly. Like, you're not like noting down the whole book. That is going to be a waste of time. Okay, so understand, you need to be able to write, select content, select information, just to ensure that the learning has been reinforced in your mind. The other thing that people do is sometimes they blindly go into, a lot of people have this problem of vocalizing learning, but while they are reading it in their mind, it's called sub-vocalization if you're doing it in your mind, and vocalization if you're actually reading it out aloud. But while they're doing that, they can't register the information. Like, it used to happen to me. If I'm reading it out aloud, I can't register the information, so I have to read in my mind, but I will sub-vocalize. Okay, so that's fine, but at least I can retain the information. What's worse is if you skim through, like, some people try speed reading without mastering retention. If you try that, you will go through it very fast, but you have to be able to retain what you have. Okay. So don't practice skimming, practice speed reading with retention, not without retention. Okay. This is a major pitfall that I faced when I had to deal with volumes of content to learn. Now, it is not difficult to create backups in litigation or corporate jobs while preparing for judiciary exams if you start early. With one exception, do not leave, uh, do not think that I'm only exploring. Why should I figure it out right now? Isn't it too early? My batchmates don't have to deal with this problem. Why do I have to? Why can't I just chill with them? Or why can't I just take it easy? Why can't I follow my law school curriculum? My law school curriculum requires me to follow, or the recommended path for internships is NGOs in first year, trial courts in second year, appellate court or Supreme Court in third year, corporate firm in fourth year. Why can't I just follow that path? Okay. Few problems with that. For people who want to crack private sector jobs, that path doesn't work alone. They need area focused internships. Okay. So if you decide to work in IP, you need IP focused internships. You want to work in corporate, you need corporate. You need law firm internships. You can start with smaller law firms and then use that to get to bigger law firms. Okay. There will be some practical skills you'll need on the side to be able to get those internships in, and which will show on your CV even from your second year or first year. You will have better skills, than you will have more relevant content in your CV as compared to another student who's not preparing in the way you are. Now that kind of work also does not require more than 1 to 2 hours of structured learning every day if you want. But if you start preparing early, if you want to think of litigation as a backup option, that also can be done. Okay, because you anyway have similar content between litigation and judiciary prep, except for the practical skills. There will be more practical drafting and decision making, some strategic skills that you will need to acquire to be able to to be able to work with a lawyer. Okay. So but the problem here is that not starting with a focused approach is an issue. Okay. Start early. That is one. Second thing is that when you have this thought that others are having fun, so why can't I chill? You need to remember you will be one of the few amongst lakhs of candidates who want to crack the exam. Definitely your life path is going to look very different from that of others, right? The other pitfall to watch out for is people think that I will, if I don't make it to the judiciary, then I will think of practice. Okay. But it is not that opportunities are waiting for you. Okay. I have been training lawyers to get independent clients, to get jobs in different industries. The challenge there is that they do not have enough practical skills unless they've started working on them from early on. Okay. So it's not that, private sector jobs are waiting for you. And if you just say that I'm willing to work hard, people will take you in. So you will need to invest some time to be ready for that. And preparing a backup is important for your own for your own confidence. And because judiciary is a competitive exam, nothing can guarantee, you can do your best preparation with the most resources, best planning, but nothing can guarantee the fact that that you will crack it or not. Which is why if you're ready for a backup, you at least know that if nothing works out, I will get a job that pays me 50,000 or 1 lakh or 40,000, whatever you want to get. Okay. So that can happen, but you can't prepare for that at the last moment, because at the last moment, your judiciary preparation is going to take 12 to 14 hours every day for 1.5, 2 years, 3 years. So you want to start early so that you can dedicate some time to creating backups as well. Okay. Now, one of the things that are very important is you want to use superior planning. Planning is completely underrated. What do people focus on? I have to study hard. Hard work is overrated and planning is underrated. I want to study very hard. I'll study for 14 hours every day. I'll study for 3,000 hours. Now, 3,000 hours is a certain measure. But the point is that your quality of retention is important and you will need to focus your preparation in a particular direction. So how do you do that? Okay. The question is that some of you are asking me questions. Should I answer the questions as you're going okay, I will do this. I will answer the questions as you all are asking me because it is pertaining to the point I'm discussing. Okay, so Pranav, I hope it's not a distraction. Pranav, you're saying that what's the correct year for preparation of judiciary exam? So remember the T20 example, huh? You want to give yourself the maximum runway, the maximum window of opportunity to crack it, right? So it's best, if you could just do 1 year of mocks, 1 year of revision. Okay. That kind of thing you want. For that, you will have to start as early as possible. First year is great to start. Okay. Astha, yes, you can put the slide. Mr. Pavan Kumar, how to consider college syllabus as a preparation for judiciary? See, college syllabus can be a preparation for judiciary as far as matching subjects are concerned. Textbooks also can work. Okay. But in addition, you need to do a few more things, Pavan. You will need to you will need to refer to past year's papers, do a trends analysis. What kind of papers from that state, what kind of questions from that state are being asked from this subject? And this will be different for different states. It's not going to be the same, right? So after you do that, then you can use the college syllabus. But understand this, then only the subject is the same and the textbook is the same. Or textbooks also may be different sometimes. If you're getting dukkis, you may not want to use those dukkis. You may need to use a bigger commentary. Okay. Then you start preparing accordingly. Now, as you do that, you'll realize that only the subject overlaps, but the way you're preparing doesn't overlap. Second thing you will notice is that you will soon cross and complete what the college is discussing. Because see, it is possible for most of you to learn and revise for exams in 2 weeks. So now what happens if you study for 6 hours every day, right? You will finish college syllabus in about 1.5 months in a semester. Then what will you do? Then is the time to move ahead, right? So that's where you gain an advantage over the others. Makes sense? If you've completed your LLB, see the 1 year plan now, whatever happens, you can't demotivate yourself. But the 1 year now is going to take 12, 14, 16 hours if you can, 14 hours definitely, right? And full with all the leveraging factors. What is a leverage? Leverage is what will accelerate your preparation. So 14 hours in a focused direction is important because two people studying for the same number of hours can have a very different output based on what kind of guidance they receive, what is their own learning capacity, how focused they are, okay, how attentive they are, and a lot of these things improve with guidance. So Somraj, you might want to look at that because you have less time. So accelerating your prep is very, very important. So in 1 unit of time, you should be able to cover much more than somebody who would, let's say, who's in the 3rd year or 4th year. Swapnil, how to create how to create backups, right? So Swapnil, as I said, that if you're starting in 2nd, 3rd, 4th year, 4th year is late, okay, 2nd year, 1st year, you can simultaneously take some time out for internships, but not only as per your college syllabus, but as per your area of interest as well. If you want to go in litigation, do your trial court internships or high court, whichever side you want to focus on, or you want to do IBC litigation, NCLT litigation, do internships with such litigators. Okay, that would mean that your extra 1 or 2 months every year, extra 3 months every year would go in internships, right? So you will have to simultaneously balance judiciary prep. If you start this in 2nd year itself, your average time per day for judiciary preparation is going to be around 3 to 4 hours, which is manageable. 3 hours, 4 hours, you can study with judiciary prep while doing these internships. When your internship is over, what you're going to manage is college work, 3 to 4 hours of judiciary prep, 1 to 2 hours of learning of practical skills. Okay, so now these 3 get managed, and then during internship, what happens? Again, you do internship and 3 to 4 hours of judiciary prep. That's it. Okay, that is how you manage this, Swapnil. I'm taking the questions because I think that this is kind of connected to what we are doing here. Okay, so Adil, I just explained how to manage time, huh? But if you're like, if this is your final year, okay, and you're in a job, then 3 to 4 hours will not suffice, right, for your judiciary preparation. This applies if you start in 2nd year, 3rd year. How do you do that with a corporate job? So there it is harder, and you may need to take out dedicated time with coaching, which is directly focused to accelerate your preparation. Okay, ideal timetable to prepare for judiciary M31. depends on, okay, I'm going to skip some questions because now some of them are going in a slightly different direction and we'll take those at the end. But ideal timetable, I will come to. Ideal timetable depends on whether you start in first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Okay, but you have to add up to this. Okay, overall, there are 4 5 plans that you have to make. Okay, what are the plans? I'm just telling you. This was the point we were on, right? So you will have one plan which totals up to the total number of hours. That will be broken down into a subject wise study plan. Okay, we'll share some of this content in on 8th December 6 to 9 p.m. There's a free workshop, you can register for it. So it'll be heavy, it'll take more time. Okay, 3 hours it'll take. So there'll be a subject wise study plan which will break down important subjects and number of hours you need to dedicate to it. Then there will be a daily study plan which will have, let's say if you're studying for 8 hours, okay, then you want to divide your preparation, this much time live classes, this much time watching a recorded video, this much time reading a note, this much time cracking solving MCQs, this much time for answer writing. Then you will need to take out about half an hour to 1 hour reviewing results. Okay, half an hour you will review results, 1 hour you will fix what you didn't do, so you will need to restudy what you didn't do. Okay, so if you make an 8 hours study schedule, I would advise you to start with an 8 hour study schedule if you're around second year or around your third year or fourth year. Fifth year onwards, you have to go all out, 12 hours, 14 hours. So I can give you 8 hour breakdown. This was the 8 hour breakdown. Okay. Kshitija, you will need to do enough internships to be able to get a PPO or at least an opportunity from somebody to come back if you intend to pursue a private job or to pursue litigation. Okay, but in fourth year, you don't have a lot of time to do a lot of internships, so you may need to have some training on the side with your judiciary prep. Okay, we will discuss this a lot more at length on 8th December. But what I'm saying is that then when you don't have a lot of time for even internships, then you need enough practical training on your career and judiciary prep so that a backup is nurtured. But by fifth year onwards, please don't nurture backups. You will have to get all that sorted beforehand, so that fifth year onwards, you're focusing fully on your judiciary prep. Okay, now I'm going to move ahead. Okay, I hope some of the questions are answered. I'm going to take Q&A also. Right now, I've been dealing with the chats. Q&A will take in a bit. One question is there, can the judiciary exam not be cracked if I start preparation in the final year? No, it can be cracked. I'm just saying that how much, what is it going to take? How much effort it is going to take, what it's going to cost you, right? How much time you have to give. You can definitely crack it. Why can't you crack it? But what it takes and how many people are able to withstand that kind of challenge, that is the issue. It's not that you can't crack it. Okay, I'll come to the Q&A questions also again. Okay. Next is you want to spend 1 to 2 hours irrespective of what happens on your mental health or physical fitness and visualizations. This I discussed yesterday. In case some of you need me to explain some of this, you can let me know. But so you want to fix your nutrition. You want to focus on what is mental health. You can do it through visualizations, listening to affirmations, writing down your visualization, journaling, mirror work. We discussed this yesterday. Some physical exercise. You can do some workout or yoga. Okay, and have any nutritional supplements necessary to keep you in good in good shape, because our everyday diet often doesn't provide us the nutrients necessary, and that leads to a lack of our attention, our alertness, our focus. We get tired easily, we get angry, exhausted, frustrated easily. I discussed this in depth yesterday. So you do make sure that you spend this time here, okay? And you will have anxiety. The more delayed you get, you will have a lot more anxiety, and you can't even take out 1 or 2 hours for this. You will feel guilty doing this. So make sure you build it into your habit as you start early. Then state specific preparation, I've been discussing on this. Yeah, why it is very important. You cannot confuse judiciary preparation for one state with other exams, and there is a complete lack of resources as far as analysis is concerned. You will get past year's papers in books and online which will tell you that what the questions were, but how much do you go about preparing for different state specific exams? This is a very, very big challenge, right? So Now you will need to figure out and keep that additional time for state specific preparation. So you can do a generic preparation, but if you complete, so how will you prepare, let's say for a CPC, if you're doing that, right? You take those 3 or 4 states. The first thing you will do is take those 4 states or 3 states which you want to appear for. Take that, see the, mark out the questions for that subject for prelims or for mains, and for mains together. Okay, sit together with prelims and mains papers, mark the questions out, and then study the subject. Try to answer those questions. Okay, and this is only ensuring that you're prepared with those questions, but you will need to prepare for additional questions. So you need a practice repository of a huge number of additional questions, right? So that you can practice for other questions that are asked, because every time all the questions won't come from past year's papers. Some questions may be repeated if you're lucky, but every question won't be repeated. So you need a bigger knowledge bank to practice from. And once you're sitting with one subject for preparation, at the same time you will be doing all this answer writing and objective MCQs, so that you have 2 levels of testing done. You have objective MCQs sorted, which are topic wise also. So every day when you study a topic, you get practice MCQs and answers on that. Then at the end of it, repetition, remember, is important. Okay, so at the end of it, after the subject is completed, you will practice it again, the whole question bank for objective questions plus new questions plus answer writing. You will need to do all of that once again. And I'm not saying this out of the blue. You can see any skill, right? Like if you look at doing yoga, stretches, martial arts, swimming, anywhere, any professional sport you look at, you will need to practice repeat the same thing again and again to develop some mastery. So repetition will be important, at least 2 to 3 times, to reinforce your learning. Otherwise you will forget. You may fear that what happens when if I finish CPC in second year and till 5th year I don't revise it. But the thing is that you will need to structure your revisions, but every subsequent time that you revise, you will remember all of it very, very fast. Okay, so it will taper, the revision time will reduce. Okay, so do not be worried that I'm going to study early and forget everything. That is not going to happen. The other thing is, so these are some of the other challenges which people don't grapple with in their first attempt, especially in their first attempt, but that's going to be their best attempt. I'm going to explain that in a moment. So what is the challenge here? General studies, answer writing, and judgment writing. Okay, these 3 subjects are peculiar, I would say, with respect to judiciary exams alone, right? So general studies has current GK and static GK. But the flavor of this current GK and static GK again differs from state to state. And there is no fixed duration and there's no fixed textbook that you can use. Okay, of course, you can use a yearbook like Manorama or any other yearbook that is published for competitive exams. But there's a certain flavor that a judiciary GK paper would have. And in some states, you have for static GK, you have class 10 physics, chemistry, bio, some parts of maths, geography, history, all of that covered. Okay, that's part of static GK, and uniquely it pertains to how something India did, some Indian satellite that was launched, and all of that. I was looking at the UP prelims and looking at that. Then international commissions, UN, international organizations, all that is there. Now you can't learn all of that in a rush. It's very problematic because you can't predict exactly what will be asked. Current affairs is still possible. That's the last 1 year. Okay, but what about static GK? And how do you remember this for important milestones, right? So what you want to do is get into the habit of doing this every day, right? Every day, spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes on this. You can't read the newspaper for 1.5, 2 hours. You can't read multiple newspapers for that time. So you want to just keep a focused amount of time. So there is a free resource also that we have. It's called the Daily News Analysis. There's a playlist on lawseco.com called Daily News Analysis. This is on the YouTube channel of LawSeco. Those of you who are watching us on YouTube, that's where there's a playlist for this. So you can subscribe to the LawSeco YouTube channel and visit this playlist. Every day there's a 20-minute audio visual with text identification of important current affairs related news. Okay, so that is one way in which you can build this muscle, because there is audio, there is video, and there is you're reading. So you're doing all 3 together, plus it's curated and filtered, so you can get into a habit of doing this in 20 minutes, right? Now, some of these will go in parallel to your subject wise preparation. That 8-hour plan that I said, you will have it, you will have general studies, answer writing, and judgment writing go in parallel. Now, answer writing and judgment writing is something people postpone for the mains. Now, compare what is the quality of your work going to be if you are practicing answer writing for 1.5 to 2 months versus yours having done this for 3 years or 4 years. Some of you think that in my legal writing class or when I study legal writing in fourth year, I will learn something new. But there is no mysterious skill about this. There are very clear ways in which you can write. But the important thing is not the cosmetic skill of writing an answer. You have to write in correct English grammar and you have to be able to write the correct content. Okay. And this is a function of knowledge and expression and grammatical correctness. So again, you want to give yourself the longest window for this. At the time of mains, you will not get enough time. So you need to start early. But how do you start early? Many people mistake the idea that I am learning. How? I memorize and then I try to say it in my mind. They think that that is answer writing practice. No. So this advice is available everywhere, that start with answer writing practice early on. But how do you do it is the problem. And many coaching classes don't start this. They start this towards the end of your preparation. So you cannot afford to be dependent that when coaching class starts answer writing, then I will learn it, or when coaching class starts mocks, then I will practice it. As I said, you need to be practicing retention and improving on where you fall short on a daily basis, because you can deal with small blocks of tasks, but you cannot deal with like a very expansive syllabus at the last moment. So, and the risk here is that you may spend 4 years studying, but you do it with the wrong study method. You run the risk that in your 5th year you realize, or just 2 months before the exam when the mocks are happening, you realize that, oh my god, my study went in a completely different direction. So in order to not face that risk, you want to ensure that you keep practicing retention, and answer writing helps you to even prepare for prelims. And this perspective, I don't hear people say, like, when you look at those MCQ textbooks, you will learn only those questions. But when you practice answer writing, you will realize the kind of the coherence with which you learn and retain information, the connection between different bits of information that gets made, which never gets made when you're practicing MCQs, because it is pure, it looks like it's cramming. Okay, so the connection, the flow, the understanding doesn't happen, which is important, which is where you can club in answer writing with your prelims. Judgment writing, again, there are states where you have to write judgment writing. This is a component for the mains. So this is again something you want to practice from early on. You're studying Civil Procedure Code, Criminal Procedure Code, Indian Evidence Act, Indian Penal Code at a very early age in law school. So why not start working on judgment writing also? Right? And in any case, if you're studying for even 3 months, 4 months, seriously for judiciary, you will very soon get ahead of your class, ahead of your batch in law school. Now, why on earth would you want to lose that advantage? Right? Why would you want to put yourself back and put yourself at par with everybody else who's going to start in 4th or 5th year? So the point is, start early, create a gap, start early, cover up what's there, and then start to widen the gap between yourself and others. So there are no mysterious legal writing skill sets involved. So don't please postpone this. Okay. The other thing is that your first attempt must, under all circumstances, be your best attempt. There is no other way to go about this. Why? I'll tell you. Okay. For many people, you think that I can give my second attempt or my third attempt later. What is the problem? I have more attempts. But the thing is that when you fail to crack it in your second year or third year, when you fail to crack it in the first time, what you will notice is that there will be a lot of psychological pressure. There will be one level of demotivation because of past failure. You will see some of your batchmates who succeeded. They would be going ahead, racing forward with their career. Some people would become judges, others would have taken up other jobs, and you will feel that I'm still sitting on cracking this exam. And you would know other people already, who've spent years trying to crack the same exam, whether it is UPSC, judiciary. That happens, right? And it really drains you out. So in a corner of your mind, you'll be thinking, firstly, you'll be demotivated. You won't have the full energy to work. Secondly, there will be pressure from your family, and you will have your own your own responsibility for yourself to think that, okay, when can I get started with my career? How soon can you start? In a corner of your mind, you will want to create backups, so you will want to take up some part-time job or be a junior to someone, and then you will not be able to fully explore that either, because you will be restrained, because you will be like, no, I am giving my second or third attempt, so let me also take out some time for that. So there's a chance that things will move in a more piecemeal way. Plus, the time between your first and second attempt is only 1 year. But if you're right now in first year, second year, third year, the time is huge, right, in comparison. And that's not to chill out, but that's to focus your preparation on this. You've got 2 to 3 years, so you can't even cover that up in your second attempt. If you miss your first attempt, that opportunity is literally gone forever, right? You can give your first attempt the best shot. That is what you need to know. And many people don't do this cost calculation, that what does it take. They don't do this. Also, for those of you who are thinking of coaching classes, take something that fits your needs. Okay, I am not selling anything here, I'm not recommending anything here, but I am saying that make your own assessment. So there are various kinds of coaching classes. Okay, I'll explain to you what kinds they are. One type of coaching classes where they cover the law school syllabus in a more enhanced way. They revise more, sometimes they cover more components in the same classroom way. Now what does that do? That does not That's more advanced law school style work, but doesn't test your retention, doesn't test your answer writing. Okay, doesn't prepare you from perspective of judiciary exam specifically. Okay, there are other coaching classes for which you will have to leave everything you're doing and go to a separate town city, which is difficult to do if you're in college. Okay, that's probably the reason why people start with full focus a lot later. Then there are other coaching classes which will cost lakhs, and you may not be able to afford it for every year. Okay, now you want to choose something. And then there are other coaching classes where a one size fits all approach is adopted. Whatever is there, the coaching class covers it, but no specific support for weaker students, no specific doubt clearing mechanisms, no specific motivational aspect. So if I lose focus, I need motivation, how do I do it, right? And then those are questions you want to identify, right? Can I, with my existing law school or practice, manage my learning? Will there be some component where I can have personalized help, doubt clearing? Can I seek motivation if I need? Can I study with peers? Studying with peers is really, really important. I'll tell you why. Okay, and this is coming from like, if you see any successful actor, sports person, business person, loneliness is a common issue. You will face the same thing in judiciary prep. Why? Because you are preparing for something which is difficult. It's a long and uncertain journey. So you want to have people you can share the journey with. This is not about building friendships. This is not about hanging out, partying, and all of that. This is about sharing the difficulties of a journey and pushing each other to do better. Okay, being in a community helps. Some coaching classes have better ways to do it, and irrespective of whether you go to coaching or not, you can create your own community, but create it properly. Like, not two people, but create like 5-6 people who are tie up with 5-6 people, create a group, create a WhatsApp group, check in with everybody, like create a structure to follow up and push each other. Okay, and by the way, there is science to back this up. If you are doing something together with another person, there is release of a hormone called serotonin, which creates a feeling of belongingness, and it is one of the hormones that makes you feel happy. Okay, so you want to look at that aspect as well. Also, one more thing I would want you to watch out for is, a lot of people have this issue that they are like, I'll do self-study. Now the thing is that track record of self-study you have to see in your school or college when you have been studying for your board exams or your college exams. There's absolutely no comparison with a situation where lakhs of people sit for the exam and there are 20, 50, 100 seats. Okay, in your college, probably you've got 50, 100, 200 people where you've topped. That has nothing to do with topping a judiciary exam, because there lakhs of people will be there. Okay, so it's self-study will be required any which ways. Everybody who goes to coaching doesn't crack it. 3 to 5% will crack it. Now, in any batch, if you have 100 people, with some accelerated learning, some of them would crack it. Okay, so it's not that taking a coaching will alone make you crack it. It's not that self-study will make you crack it. Self-study will have to be done any which ways. What you need to identify is what will maximize the efforts of my self-study and what kind of guidance do I need and where. Also, there are no specific medals if you don't take coaching. There is no prize, right? In my class 10 exam, when I was studying in Bombay. There was class 9, class 10. There was a whole culture. Today also it's there in metro cities at least, to take a lot of private tuitions. And I actually got a scholarship for not taking any tuitions for my board exams and coming second in school. Okay, but for judiciary exam there are no such medals. It doesn't matter, you took one coaching, five coachings, no coaching, doesn't matter. If you cracked it, you cracked it, right? So it doesn't it doesn't make you inferior in any way if you took support. So take support if you need it or where you need it. Okay, and because there is lack of similar prior experiences, you're dealing with a new subject, new exam, you've not cracked it 20 times, syllabus is different, there are more likely than not, there are chances that you will need help. What form of help, that you can decide for yourself, right? But I'm giving you an example that these are the questions to look for while deciding for help and while selecting a training or a coaching class. And I will also cover separately this thing, and we will also discuss this on December 8th about how to go about this process. Okay, now so this is about going the long journey with a community. Now this community you can create or you can get it in a coaching class. One more thing to keep in mind, okay, and this is very important for the interview stage and knowing your practicals. Interviewers, so there were in certain states earlier, freshers could not give the judicial services exam. It was about 15-20 years back. You needed to have a certain amount of experience, and then there was some discussion to have that again, because there was this conversation in the news that young fresher judges don't have enough life experiences to be able to decide matters well. Okay, now what you want to know from this is that at the interview stage, imagine sitting there with somebody, you are a fresher, and imagine somebody else who's got 3 to 4 years of experience. Okay, and the interviewer, officially there is no requirement of prior experience, but the interviewer is asking you a few questions, let's say on bail or the inherent powers of the High Court. Okay, and who do you think will answer that question better, right? And they may not, who will answer more coherently, more persuasively. Sometimes interviewers ask questions like, what do you think of the judicial system? And I know of candidates who've sacrificed internships to just focus on judiciary prep, but at the interview stage, then they are left with no answer because they say, I've not interned. And then they repeat something like what they've heard in the movies, that Tariq pe Tariq is what I know. Court cases are pending and judges, there is so much litigation pending. Now, how do you think that answer would be appreciated by an interviewer? And some of them will get offended by it, and it reduces the likelihood of making it. Many students, many candidates don't realize what mistake they made when they answered a question like this. So you want to minimize the chance of such accidental errors. Now, again, I'm giving you a leveraging strategy here. Leveraging strategy essentially is killing 2 birds with 1 stone, or learning more with less time of investment. So if you are creating your backup, learning some practical skills, doing your internships, and preparing for judiciary, that will help you in your interview prep, by the way. Okay, so keep that in mind. And it will also benefit your learning for prelims and mains, because if you see something happen in front of you, you're going to be able to retain it much better. It's not going to be abstract. It's not going to be in some isolated world. Okay, so these are some of the questions that people ask. Why do I need to plan? Can't I just start studying? So I hope these have been sort of answered for you. What are the components of an effective study plan? Okay, I'm just checking retention. So what are the things you would want to do when you prepare your study plan? You can write on chat and let me know. How many hours should you study? So this is one of the ways I'm making you practice retention. Which are the learning techniques which would matter? Okay. How can you improve your GK and answer writing skills? What kind of efforts, maybe coaching, maybe guidance, maybe something else, what would multiply the effectiveness of your self-study? 4 questions or 5 questions to ask you what your takeaways are from the session. And I'm going to also look at the Q&A panel now. I have seen the chats. Let me see if there are more chats. Okay, so first I will exit the slide and tell me what are your takeaways. Stopping share. And now we go to Q&A and chats. Mani, 1 second, let me just see. Pranav Sethi, so you have a question about what to join, and you're in your first year. See, you're studying 50 subjects in your 5 years of college. Technically, you should be able to join you should be able to open 5 different career opportunities if your college taught you enough practical skills. There is enough time on your hand to prepare for both careers. but by focusing, okay, not by being lackadaisical. You will have people who will say that I will relax, I will enjoy my time, but you will need to focus. You can create both options as viable propositions for yourself. Money, your age is 30 and you're preparing for judiciary exam. So in some states there is purely English, some states have Hindi. So you will need to choose one of the you'll have to choose a state where you can crack the regional language. One of the common strategies is to attempt the exams in the Hindi speaking belt so that there's only one language to learn. Okay. Uh, Aishwarya, is it not possible to crack judiciary once that's in the final year? If yes, how? So, Aishwarya, I think I've answered this for everybody, right? Adil, I've answered your question. Pavan, how to choose books for preparation? Now there are so many subjects, so you want to go subject wise, or we'll do it separately. How to choose books and how to what books to study and all of that. Kshitija, so you understood about doing internships, right? You will need to pursue some internships. After fourth year, you don't have a lot of time, so do your practical learning and study together. Surbhi, you will need to start straight away with your judiciary preparation. If you need help, you can reach out to our team. Also, one more thing, I would love to invite you for our subsequent sessions, which are every day I'm holding them. So come tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. And on 8th December, there is a workshop that I'm conducting for which the link has been shared by Astha on the chat group. And this is going to deal with a lot of your questions in a lot more detail. This is a free workshop, 3 hours. Okay. We will discuss this theme, how 99% judiciary aspirants sabotage their own preparation. So you will be able to identify what not to do. And we will work on creating a more detailed study plan. Right now, I could cover some points in 1 hour. I hope you found this valuable, but in 3 hours, we will get to a lot more detail, right? Ujjwal Gaikwad, you will need to look at if the age is not a barrier. I don't have offhand knowledge on which states you can give this in, but if age is not a problem, you can, where age is not a problem, you must definitely go and attempt. Okay. And if you stop practice 4 years back, that doesn't matter. Then I'm looking at the Q&A panel. How to revise procedural laws for judiciary? Sayan Sinha. So how do you revise procedural laws? You do the same thing, repeat the tests, perform more mocks, write more answers, right? More answer writing. So it's basically the same thing. All revisions are going to be the same, but your time spent on that is going to reduce. Sushalini Sethi, state judiciary exams have different rent control acts and different criteria for language. So you want to begin, whenever you begin studying, you want to choose which exams you will sit for, because language can be a big barrier and you can't learn too many languages. Okay, one is the maximum you can think of. So people use, let's say, the Hindi speaking belt. Now, when you're doing rent control acts, best way to do that is most rent control acts have a pattern which is similar. Exact provisions are not. Number of the provision will be different. Okay, key parts will be different. Key parts will be similar. So you will try to track that. Okay, there are patterns you will identify. You can do it on your own. Our team helps our students to identify those patterns. But the point is that the pattern has to be identified. But first, filter out the exams you will not attempt. Please don't attempt too many exams which don't add up. Okay, because you'll have to learn regional languages. That won't work. Shreya, okay, we will look at this on December 8th in the workshop on how to create a study plan for, let's say, DJS, where you can't find a pattern. Sushalini, how do you practice answer writing and judgment writing if you're not into any coaching and preparing on your own and there's no one to analyze and assess your answers? Good question. So I can say what's best available without coaching. You will need to find a question bank and write, and then check on your own, and then see what you can improve. There are some things you will recognize on your own. Your blind spots you won't be able to. That will be a challenge, which is why you can look for a coaching that deals with that. Of course, at LawSikho, we do that. But I am not here at the moment to speak about that. But you're most welcome to reach out to our team and discuss this. Okay, but that is where the coaching really helps, because it makes the process faster. And you know what happens is when you're changing between tasks, like you write the answers, now you need to check, then you need to rewrite, then you need to review. it becomes very tiring. You get tired much faster. So that is where having a coaching really helps. How to begin with answer writing? Yeah, so question bank and then practice writing answers. Question bank is one is real question bank. Then you can buy a book if you get off mock questions. Okay, what is the right way to answer a mains question and how to check if it is accurate or not? That you're asking me all the questions where the challenge is there and where people actually need guidance. But to some extent, you can verify the answer by opening the book. To some extent only. Okay. And yeah, that is what is there. And you may need 2 or 3 books with the Bear Act to create a model answer for yourself. That's where people struggle, that they don't know the model answer. But a lot of people don't know like even one form of right answer. Okay, there are ways to prepare one model answer and then there are ways to improve it. But you need to get to at least one correct way first to start off, right? Any specific what will give one an extra edge over others if there's nothing special? Oh, anonymous attendee, you're missing out the whole idea of advanced practice. You will become special if you're practicing it for 3 years, judgment writing and answer writing both. And you will refer, if you're taking help, you'll refer to model questions, model solutions, you will get coaching corrections. So you will have an edge. There's no comparison with that. If you have practice, you have a wide bank of questions to practice from, and you have coaching and corrections on that. Okay, not random coaching and corrections. Okay, then it will help. Surbi, we may get on a call. Maybe you schedule a call with Asta so we can speak further. Anonymous attendee, if you're starting in the final year, 14 hours of study prep every day, then you will have to slot out time for your GK answer writing separately. Live classes for one part. If you're attending any coaching, I'd suggest that you do, because it's too late already. So high time to accelerate your preparation. Then what else can you do at the same time? So 1 hour to 2 hours studying notes, chapters, whatever you call that. Approximately 2 hours practicing, 3 hours practicing writing your answers, giving mock tests, reviewing what is missing, and then revising that. So 3 hours will easily go in that. Okay, how to manage Vaibhav? If you have 6 hours of class, you can start early, or otherwise you're left with 8 hours to prepare. Use those 8 hours with maximum guidance. Okay, how do you leverage those 8 hours? Get guidance to ensure that you can learn more in 8 hours than somebody else, right? How to cover up each subject? What do you mean cover? How to retain current affairs? Reading again and again will serve this purpose. Reading consistently over a period of time and practicing general knowledge or through mock questions, question banks will help you well. Darshu, how to cover each subject? What do you mean by cover each subject? What methodology? So methodology I said in the daily study plan. Now which subject you study at a particular time will change. Once you complete one subject, you move on to another. And if you get bored, then you can divide your daily preparation with two subjects at a time so that you have a variety to deal with. Okay. Bhavesh, the question is abstract. Trust me, your question is more about not being able to retain, okay, and not having enough fodder for practice, enough practice questions. Okay, Ritesh, doing internships is beneficial for judiciary or not in different fields. Specifically for judiciary preparation, litigation internships will help. Bangya, see, you will need to keep changing your books. You can start with Bangya, but when you practice your mocks, you might have questions from outside. Okay, so the question is, you will need a wider bank of books. Okay, how many states should one select for judiciary exam? Between 1 to 5. 1 is too little, I think. 2 to 5 is good. Doing internships, yeah, okay, then. Okay, I'm not going to take questions at the moment for specific books. We can discuss that on December 8th, okay? Should you practice answer writing of subjects and topics which you read the same day? Anonymous attendee, perfect. Anonymous attendee, we provide sample answers in the course at the moment. How many? 5,000 sample answers. How will I provide? 100 sample answers also I can't provide here, right? Should we practice answer writing on the same day? Yes, that's exactly the way you want to do. Topics you read, you practice for that. And every month you practice the revision of that. So you write it again to see what you remember and what you don't. So you need a test at the end of every month. Okay, Ritesh, I answered your question. So with that, I have discussed the agenda for today. And tell me how you all have benefited, guys. Happy to know about that. Did you find this useful? Do you find this to be implementable? Pranav, if your college is from 9 to 5:30, and I think if you're in first year, so you can manage this, right? Because in first year it takes 3 to 4 hours of study time only, and you will realize that you will soon get a grip over your college work. You'll be able to carry some books to college in your free time, or between in the time when the teacher is teaching the same subject. You can also study, learn more, cover more, learn faster without violating any college rules. Okay, that will start to happen very soon, and there'll be gaps between different classes, so you can study at that time. There will be ways to optimize. This is in addition to the 3 to 4 hours which you will get apart from your college time. Reena, I don't know at the moment about the answer to your question. Sorry. Jamshed, if you're a Hindi medium student, how to improve English, you can take up an English course that is there. There is one that LawSeco conducts, which will enable you to learn English from grammar, listening, oratory, comprehension, all of these perspectives. Sushalini, okay, thank you, Sushalini. Thank you, Pranav. So, can you all share what you all can implement? So, I understand that you found this to be helpful, but what can you implement? And I'd really love to see you all on 8th December. Okay, we will have Shweta Devgan, also our project lead for judiciary test prep. We will invite Harsh Jain, who's personally coached more than 50 candidates in cracking judiciary exams of multiple states. So it will be very, very exciting. We will discuss how to create a study plan. Okay. Anonymous attendee, yes, you can start studying in third year. Is a good time to start prep. All right, everybody. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop the live stream, and I hope to see a lot of you tomorrow.